Hi, I'm Zibby Owens, and you're listening to the award-winning podcast, Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. Please sign up for my newsletter at zibbyowens.com for weekly updates about my podcasts, events, and more. Also, follow me on Instagram at Zibby Owens and also at Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. And finally, join my virtual book club called Zibby's Virtual Book Club, which meets every other Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time until 3 p.m. and features half an hour of book club discussion followed by 30 minutes of Q&A with the author whose book we've just discussed. You can sign up on my website, zibbyowens.com, under the virtual book club section, or even on Instagram under the link in my bio. I hope you'll find me in all these different channels and enjoy this podcast. Hi, everybody. So today, the sponsor for my podcast is my other podcast. I am launching Moms Don't Have Time to Lose Weight. It launched Monday, October 12th. And hopefully it'll stick around for a long time. It features women talking to other women about their journeys of their bodies and getting tips and commiseration and all the things we need so that we don't feel alone in trying to make our bodies feel better tomorrow than they do today. So check out Moms Don't Have Time to Lose Weight. And it's also a community now on Instagram at Moms Don't Have Time to Lose Weight. So if you fall into that category like I do and so many of us, come join us. The door is open. The second episode on day 5 of the Book Blast is by Brooke Hecker. Brooke is an author and marketing executive in New York City. She has 2 daughters, and she sometimes secretly reads their books after they've gone to sleep. Brooke's first children's book, Letters from My Tooth Fairy, debuted on August 15th, 2020, and is based off of the real letters that her daughters have received from their actual tooth fairies. Hopefully their tooth fairies don't mind. Brooke, FYI, is a mom in my kid's school. Welcome. Thanks so much for coming on Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
I think you're the first, is this true? I think you're probably the first school mom friend I've ever had on the podcast, which is really exciting.
That's amazing.
I can't even think of any other mom friends who've written books, can I? I don't know. Of course, some people come to me.
There's a lot.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you so much.
And I just literally finished reading out loud your whole book to my 2 little ones. And they were like, read it again, which is always the best sign.
Oh, that's good.
So
it's a long one. Apologies in advance.
No, it was great. Can you so explain how you came up with the idea for your book and how it became a book, please?
Sure. So first, I don't know if you need me to do this, but this is it.
Sure, yeah.
It's called Letters from My Tooth Fairy. And so it's from real life. When my older daughter lost her first tooth, she said she got it knocked out at school, and it was like this big drama, and the whole school knew about it, and it was very exciting. And she went to bed that night, and right before bed, and it had been a long day, it was like 9:00 at night, and she said, I wonder if I'm going to get Priya's tooth fairy, a school friend who lived around the corner. And I said, oh, she lives around the corner. And she said, oh, that's great, because Priya gets a poem for her teeth. And I was like, oh, great. That's great. And so I spoke to Priya's tooth fairy, who told me that it's a form letter from the internet, and she gave it to me. And I thought, I could just probably whip something up really quick. And so I started writing poems for each tooth, and they rhymed. They were very cutesy, and it had to do with every single story of the tooth. Every tooth seemed to have a story, and it also reflected, a specific part of her life. And so after a bunch of these, and they were really cute and they were a big hit, and, I'd share them with friends and family, it was like, well, maybe this would make a cute book idea. So that's what the book is. It's a collection of letters from the tooth fairy for every single tooth. So you're really following throughout this girl's life. And I like that it sort of gave you a snapshot of her life and the different, parts of childhood, but through this very narrow and specific lens of the tooth fairy.
That's great.
So that was how it came about.
By the end, when she says goodbye, and it's like all the teeth had fallen out. It was so sad.
It is sad.
It's emotional because you go along the journey, because it is sad when your kid loses their last tooth, It's the end of an era.
And mine has not lost her last tooth. So, a lot of this is just made up, and thinking of these scenarios when your child is still young. And it was kind of sad to go through and think about it. And my younger one still doesn't like to read the last one because she gets really upset.
Aww.
Yeah, it's very cute.
That's so sweet. Well, each note was so clever. And, I was wondering as I was reading, like, did you have to do any sort of Googling or dental digging to know the name of all the different teeth?
I did do research, and my cousin's an oral surgeon, and I asked him, and just timeline, when you would lose teeth, when you would get braces, all that sort of stuff. So I definitely did a little bit of research. And then the illustrator, who is not me, went ahead and did little diagrams of each thing. And she did her own research separately because we worked completely in silos. And it was very interesting to see what she came up with. But yeah, we definitely did research. I asked certain questions. Like one question that my daughter asked me, a lot of this was made up because I talk about teeth that she's never lost, but some of it is, real life questions. And one of them that I got was, how are my teeth going to fit? They're huge. Like the first two teeth that you get in the top are so big, and how are they going to fit? And well, what we learned was that they're full size when they come in, and your mouth grows around them. And that's, when they're ready, that's when your other teeth come out. And so things like that, I learned as a 40-year-old, which was,
the drawing of the walrus.
Yes, it was very cute.
The walrus forever. And it's such a funny thought that your teeth are the same size forever. And like you grow around them, like Alice in Wonderland or something.
Yes, it's quite fascinating.
What you should really do now that this is out is like a companion journal keepsake thing, which has like all teeth and branded the same way. And then like it'll become a whole thing that like you have to write your tooth story.
Yes.
In these books.
That's a really good idea.
You can like do like a scrapbook, and you could put the note from the tooth fairy, but you could write your own story or drawing or something.
Yeah, that's a really cute idea. There's a lot of things I think that you can do. And then this hit right when, it came out last month, right when COVID really hit. So, it was kind of hard to do all the things that we planned to do around it. But it's an underserved market too. There's not a ton on the Tooth Fairy. So, I think there's so many fun things that you can do.
The only one that I feel like we read a lot, or we used to read a lot, was it called Purplicious? Was it Purplicious? And that was all.
It was one of the Pinkalicious books, and we have read that quite a lot,
right?
Yes.
As I'm saying this, I'm realizing we haven't read any of those books in ages. Now we're on to like Dog Man, and I don't even know, but yes those books. There was one with little notes, but aside from that, not too many.
Yeah, it was all the different. So the Tooth Fairy wrote her back, but also the Easter Bunny, and like I think
that's
she.
Right. That's right. You're absolutely right. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah.
Yep. You could even put like a little map, because in the book, I'm talking about your keepsake journal that now I want you to do, because they like, on a map, like, because like my daughter just lost her tooth in Montana.
Yeah.
Her first tooth she lost in Mexico. This is making us sound very spoiled. Yeah. Sorry. But she was with her dad in Mexico and lost her first tooth, and wrote a letter to the Tooth Fairy saying, please give me, I know I'm in Mexico, but could you please leave my money in dollars and not in pesos?
Oh, that's so funny.
Which the Tooth Fairy did. Dollars, I mean. And then the next tooth she lost at my brother's house in Montana. And she was like determined to write a note for a toy. And I was like, you don't get toys from the Tooth Fairy. And, so-and-so in my class gets toys from the Tooth Fairy. I was like, no. Tooth Fairy only leaves money. But anyway, it'd be neat to see like even in your book, like at school and, all these different places. So,
but that's exactly the part of the book. I mean, you have a different Tooth Fairy when you sleep at your grandma's house. And we've had the same thing too. Hannah had lost a tooth at an airport at LAX. She knocked a tooth out. Both my kids have knocked teeth out. And she had an airport Tooth Fairy that followed her on the plane. And, so it's like, there's all these different, it's true. People lose teeth everywhere. It's a good idea. We should do one branded for this.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a really, there's so much to do, and there's nothing out there.
Yeah. It'll be like the baby book equivalent. And then everyone will use it.
It's a really good idea, because right now we hide everything in like a vase.
Well, you don't have to save the tooth. You can still maintain the illusion. I'm sorry to like waste our time.
Yeah.
But I think
but no, it's true.
It's like you're telling your own story, right? Like kids are basically writing their own story, and then they'll have it to look back on. And then I wonder if there are other like rites of passage that you could somehow brand, right?
Yeah.
That like, because that's perfect. The 20 teeth. It's like, why did no one think of this before, right? 20
and they really haven't. There's not a lot out there. And it's 20 teeth across a very profound part of your life.
Yeah. Where there's so much change, and
there's so much change.
So well with all the moving and the baby sister and, all of it.
Yeah.
Can't think of even anything comparable.
Anyway, it's a really good idea. We should do it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have to do it. You do it. You and your team, you take it, take it and run with it. Just send me a copy. So do you have plans for other books aside from the one I just suggested?
Yeah, I've been working on, so this was my first book. This was like a big swing for me. I didn't ever think to do this. And it came at a time when I was working freelance for years and years at a television network and sort of stalled out because I was working part-time, and it was like, well, what do I have to lose? And it's like an advanced age to start something new. So now that this is, and it kind of takes it's a slow process. This is a very slow industry, and it's hard for someone that works in a very fast-paced industry to, slow it down and realize, oh no, we're talking 2 years ahead right now. So yeah, I started working on more now that this has actually happened, and it's like opened up a whole new world. And with everything that's going on now and sort of I'm doing remote with the kids. So being home all the time and not having any sort of alone time has been a little bit, it stalled me out a little, but I've been working on something and it's been a lot of fun.
Sometimes though, when you have like so much time, then there's more material to pull from.
Yeah. There's a lot more. I do a lot more reading now that we have found time.
Yep.
So I feel like that always helps too. Just reading more, lets you write more.
Every time I'm like doing something, especially, I don't know why with my little guy the most, but I'm always like, oh, we should write a story about this. Oh, wouldn't it be funny if we wrote a story? That would be a really great idea for a book. And I'm like, there's going to come a time where you're gone. I'm sitting at my desk trying to think of ideas for picture books. And now they're like coming so fast and furious that I don't even like stop to take the time to write them down. Yeah. I'm like, oh, I'll write them down. And meanwhile, now I'm talking to you, I can't remember any of them. It was like 2 days ago. So yeah.
I keep a notebook by, because it's true. And like, you're reading these books every night now, and soon you won't.
I know.
Our girls are already doing it on their own. I mean, it's getting less and less of me reading to them. So now's the time.
We just like reorganized my little guy's books, and he was like, and these are the books that from when I was little, little board book. So does this make you, when you read the other books, do you like approach them differently now that you're writing one yourself? Are you looking more for like, pacing or structure, or like anything more analytical? Or
well, I definitely just have my own I know what styles I like more. I tend to like things that sort of rhyme or flow, and I like things that, like all the Julia Donaldson books, they're fun to read, and so I think like that kind of book is fun to write too. And I like humor. There's humor, and that's getting to be more and more prominent in the marketplace too, which is really fun. We laugh so much with books nowadays. Some of my favorites, like Grumpy Monkey. I don't know if you guys have that one.
Yeah, Grumpy Monkey.
So every time it cracks me up when the vulture, suggests eating dead meat. I don't know why. So I think like I've definitely found the things that I like more and the things I like more to read. And that's part of, I guess, the journey too, just figuring out what you like.
Yeah. I feel like it's nice because for so long, everything is like centered around the kids, right? Well, the kids like this book and let me read the kids a story. But I feel like starting with like Go the F to Sleep, remember that? Like that's when, like picture books were like, wait, what? We can do this? Like we can.
Yeah. It could be funny too.
Maybe there's another way to use these pages. And so yes, I feel like the tired parents who are reading the picture books are often looking for something funny and,
something funny and easy to read that flows off the tongue.
Exactly.
Those are all things I've come to appreciate, because sometimes your throat hurts at the end of the third story that you've read.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those like 5-minute stories together, it's like 6 hours,
Yeah, exactly.
It feels like 100 hours.
Yes.
So like having successfully sold and had this book come out and everything, what advice could you give both on the writing process and the publishing process, aside from the warning that it's slow?
Well, my only advice could be for, someone just starting out, because, that's the only, this is me and I'm just starting out, is that there was 2 lessons that I think I probably learned the most. And one was rejection was not something that I'd ever had to experience, because I worked in a corporate world. It just wasn't that's just not the way it worked. You did your work, you moved up, like everything was fine. We went out with this book first and it rhymed. My letters had rhymed and the book rhymed, and I absolutely loved it. And my agent had told me, rhymes don't sell as well. Would you consider rewriting the whole thing to not in prose? And I was like, well, I love it. Can we try it first like this? And so she tried it and it got rejected across the board, and not like a very quick one, but like a very slow, because everything is very slow in publishing, and it was a very slow trickle in to get rejected. And like it was the first time in my life I had been told, no. So I just assumed, oh, well, I tried, and that's like, I guess it's just not going to happen. And my agent was like, no, then you go out to the next batch of people or whatever. And I rewrote it, and we went out with it again. And when it sold, it was just a very good lesson of, I was ready to just walk away and be like, oh, well, I tried something new and it didn't work. So I think that was the number one thing for someone that's completely out of the industry to get used to, because that's something that is just going to happen, that it's very hard to get rejected and think, oh, I'm going to do it, and have that confidence in yourself with no basis, basically, to say that I'm going to keep trying and I believe in myself. And so that was a really good lesson. And I think that was a good lesson for my kids to see happen. And that was just very foreign to us in the work that, my husband and I do anyway. It just wasn't part of, our everyday. And I think the other thing is just like the patience. I mean, it takes a long time, and it's all self-discipline, which and we have a mutual friend, and she churns out 5-6 books a year. And it's like, that's because she sits in her office and has the time and dedicates it and just and gets it all done. And not a lot of people work that way. And I think that's been a lesson too, of trying to get the self-discipline to do something where you're accountable for yourself, and it's all about you. So those are the two things that I've learned, to really set aside the time and to believe in myself instead of, what 3 editors might have said.
Yep. And you never know what is going on with those editors, what else they have. Yeah. And they might even have liked it and thought it was funny, but they have other books, or their quote is met, or whatever. You don't know. You just don't know.
Yeah, exactly. It was just such a foreign concept. And so my first instinct was oh, she said no, and she's an expert. So that means that,
of course.
I guess I tried,
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. And especially for someone who's starting this in midlife, that's it's a whole new way to operate,
When you said that earlier, I was like, I don't think it's late at all.
Really?
I don't know how old you are, but I'm 44. And I feel like most of the people I talk to are not, I don't know. I feel like your 40s are somehow the best time ever to write books. I swear.
Really? Well, because you have the more experience. You're right. You have more.
You have enough experience. You're in it in so many levels. There's so much emotion in your 40s because you don't have to be parenting, but you're usually caretaking either your parents or friends or kids or something. So you've had loss. You've had caretaking. You've had love, and I don't know. There's just enough mixed. I don't know. I'm picturing a mixing bowl in the kitchen, and you've had enough.
You're absolutely right.
Thrown in that you can bake something that tastes a little better than maybe the really pretty cake from your 20s, your birthday cake or something, but it didn't actually taste that good. You know what I mean?
You're absolutely right. Yeah, you are. I think it's just, I come from an industry where, I'm 42, when you're in your 40s, you're sort of on the way, you hit you're kind of past the prime a little bit, unfortunately. And so to start something new then, or you're at a really successful level, and why would you start something new? So I think, it's to try something new. It's it's of course you can. Of course you can do something new and different, but it's a big step.
But writing it's an outgrowth of you. So I know it is something new, but it's not you're trying to get into, I don't know, mortgage-backed securities or something.
Yeah.
It's it's a creative expression of who you are in some way. And the more you define who you are as a person, the clearer your output becomes. So
100%. It was a good thing to learn, because obviously I was wrong. And
I don't mean to say you're wrong. It's just I'm saying this to try to be more encouraging than not.
Yeah.
To say it's never too late. And
no, and it's not.
A memoir I'm about to read by someone who's 70, and I can't wait to read it, because I'm that's an interesting point of view. How neat is that? So I don't know. It's just never too late. So.
You're right. It is never too late.
This was so much fun. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Thanks for the great new book for the repertoire.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Enough not to feel, babyish, but still a picture book, so it's perfect. And I hope to see you back at school.
I know. I can't wait. I hope so too. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Okay.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to day 5 of the Children's Book Blast. And thank you for anybody who's listened to all of these episodes. I hope there are people out there who have heard them all, because they're all fantastic. So this concludes the week of the Children's Book Blast, and look forward to more awesome author interviews next week and every week thereafter until who knows. Thanks for tuning in. Bye. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I know I enjoyed recording it. Don't forget to check out my new podcast, Moms Don't Have Time to Lose Weight. Pretty soon, moms won't have time to listen to podcasts. And check out the Instagram community that goes along with it. And if you would like to join, please request to join. It's for anyone who wants to feel better in their body tomorrow than they do today. And it's a supportive group of like-minded souls who just need the community to achieve their goals. Moms Don't Have Time to Lose Weight. Thanks for listening to this episode of Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Zibby Owens and at Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. Also sign up for my newsletter at zibbyowens.com and sign up for my virtual book club and meet lots of authors on Zoom every other week. Thanks so much to Steve and Ryan at Texture Sound for the sound editing. And thank you to Morning Moon Productions for providing this fantastic intro and outro music.